Are there any common mistakes that a first-time visitor you tend to make?
I would definitely say
Welcome back to Rooted in the Valley. I'm Lacey Summers with Lauren Cummings, and today we're in the heart of Oregon wine country at Angelo Estate in the Dundee Hills. And I'm so excited about this conversation because many people discover the region through wine, and they choose to come back or even plant roots here because of the people and hospitality behind the scenes. Today, we have Austin and Katie Smith, the owners of Noble Wine Tours, with us. Thank you so much for being here.
thanks so much for having us.
We're at Angelo Estate today. What do you love about Angelo Estate?
So everything here is they check a ton of boxes here. Obviously the architecture, the openness, and kind of letting the nature in is beautiful and wonderful. The hospitality staff from Chase the owner to Galen and Alvaro, just amazing hospitality, really attention to detail to the guests, their preferences. The quality of the wines are amazing as well. They do some smaller production, kind of single block wines from their local estate vineyard here. They have a vineyard in Italy as well, so they also have a little Italian wine they can share, which is kind of a unique little flair. They do an awesome food experience here too for every tasting of a whole kind of charcuterie board, kind of highlighting the best ingredients locally and then also pulling from around the globe. From really good pecorino cheeses from Italy, balsamic vinegar from Italy, and then local olive oil and other cheeses locally. And
a question we get asked a lot is, what are the top wineries that we take people to? And our answer is always that we never have the same day twice. However, there are some wineries that do show up on our list more often than others, and I would say this is one of them.
We are about 100 feet down from the tasting room. These tanks all sit outside all year long until we use them from harvest. One of the key things about us is we do very small harvest. So that holds like 1.5 tons of grapes. That holds 2 tons of grapes, and his name's Steph Curry because Chase names everything. We're getting ready for bottling, so that's why these bottles are in here. And then anytime you go from barrel to tank, that's called racking. And so like this is our smallest case production. This is 150 cases. It's essentially about 8 barrels. We call it Il Terzo. Il Terzo means the third. Chase's father is Hollings Chase Retton III. This is a wine that Chase makes and names it after his dad. It's our most exclusive Pinot. L'Angelo is an estate winery established in 2012 when Chase and his family purchased this property. This property was 25 acres, or is 25 acres, and it was a blank slate of land. Chase planted it right away to 20 acres of grapes, and so planted in 12. We're sitting in the winery. This building was built in 2014 because our first vintage was 2015. 100 feet up the hill where you were previously is our tasting room. That was built by Lever Architecture in 2016, and then L'Angelo opened in 2017 fiscally, essentially to sell our 2015 vintage. So we've been in business some time. We're small, we make 2,500 cases. And I think what's great about that is we show a tremendous amount of focus. And so as much as L'Angelo is a wine brand and we sell wine, we're also a place, and we're just this place. And Chase, the director of winemaking, the owner, is very clear that L'Angelo is never going to be anything other than this place. And so at 2,500 cases, we're very lucky. We get to really know our clients, have a very high touch experience, very intimate experience with our clients and our audience. And most of our audience is focused in the wine country and in Portland. We're not interested in trying to expand to New York or Chicago or LA. We really just want to build this community, support this community. We do a lot of restaurant programs. We do a lot of partnerships with hotels and drivers and concierge to really try to deliver the right clients for us and for them and have a great experience.
Yeah, they do an amazing job. And yeah, wines are reasonably priced as well. So same thing for a crazy collector. Even at these price points, might be their everyday drinker. And then for first-time visitors and the like, and this could be their special occasion wines and stuff like that. So it kind of tackles both sides of the market, and yeah.
And for first time, someone who's going out wine tasting in the valley, and then you're done with your day, what is something that you commonly hear from them?
The beauty of the valley, the juxtaposition of the nature, I think too is beautiful with all the Douglas firs surrounding, and then having the different agriculture here. I do think the variety of agriculture within Yamhill County and Willamette Valley is also just abundant, and then still diversified. And Napa, it's definitely been more of a monocrop to the vine. The land is so expensive, they're going to plant the best cash crop, if you will. Sonoma County still has a little more diversity, but the vine has slowly started taking over more. Here with the hazelnuts, obviously very, very popular. So seeing just different ag, different orchards, different of the grasses and stuff like that, and the haze and stuff that
I think they also
farming.
just say, I had no idea how much went into making a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
You see the mass-produced wine in the grocery store,
Right.
and then they come here and they hear the stories about how every single grape is hand-picked and how it's stored right here, and that the host can tell you from where it started to how it got in the bottle, where it was, everywhere in between.
Yeah.
And I think they leave with an appreciation of buying wine direct from wineries versus, yeah.
Well, Austin and Katie, you met at Sonoma State University and graduated there and built a successful business serving Sonoma and Napa valleys. Tell us about your journey to moving to Oregon and what drew you here.
Well, we've always loved the Willamette Valley wines, and we took our first trip here in 2017, really just to go wine tasting, and we fell in love. We just loved the wineries. It reminded us so much of home, Napa at the time, and basically ever since then, we just continuously talked about it. How do we move here? We could just see our family here. We can see raising our kids here, and we could just see our lives here.
What I hear from so many families relocating here is they're looking for a slower, simple lifestyle. Would you say that describes the wine culture here compared to Napa Valley?
You know, I think that there's actually a lot of similarities between the Willamette Valley and the Napa Valley. There are parts of it that reminded us of Napa 20 years ago. But there's also so many similarities of Napa today. We love now that we live in Carlton and that there's, a James Beard winning restaurant that we can walk to from our house.
Yeah.
We love that it is close to a big city. Having an international airport is important to us and our family. Austin's passion outside of wine is snowboarding. So there's the mountains that's 2 hours away. And then as a family, we spend a lot of time at the coast. So it's nice that that is also an hour away.
Yeah, it's so centralized to everything, and you don't really realize that until you're here, and then you're like, oh, the beach is only like an hour away. Oh, Portland's only an hour away.
The big city, which is nice, having it so close. That was one thing. I mean, obviously we'll see how traffic patterns go in the next decade or two. But back in Napa, that was one thing we probably missed out on the most. Was a lot of guests would ask, what's your favorite places in San Francisco, and blunt answer was just like, sorry, I don't know. We don't go there very often. It was 90 minutes on a good day with normal traffic, but on average it was 2.5 to 3 hour drive. So we just never got that very much. We're here even on a date night. It's like, 60 minutes to Portland, amazing restaurants, food scene, great nightlife, and just really accessible.
So a lot of similarities, but a big difference is traffic and ease of getting around. Okay.
Definitely. I would say that Napa still has some amazing hidden gem wineries where you can still be hosted by the winemaker, the owner. Here, that's kind of the majority. The Willamette Valley just feels like a hidden gem.
Some of the restrictive laws back in Napa as well versus here. Food, for example, like a ton of wineries have charcuterie boards and different things available. We get guests sometimes that will do their own itineraries, and sometimes they leave out like a lunch spot back in Napa or Sonoma, and it's kind of like, oh no, we have to try to figure something out.
Yeah. Can you explain that more about the food?
Yeah, so it's illegal in Napa to get anything really more than like a breadstick is not common at any of the wineries. Yeah.
Well, and that's what makes it so fun. It's you're eating too.
And you would think that, especially people drinking alcohol, there would be more sustenance. Yeah, get something in the belly. Where here, it's not. So just, most places either have like a full kitchen or chef available. You can order stuff, and then at a minimum, the vast majority still have kind of charcuterie boards or cheese boards or different little accoutrements you can add on. So if a guest doesn't plan a lunch spot on the itineraries here, I don't really stress because I'm like, oh, there's food almost at every stop. Where in Napa, it's a little challenging where it's like, oh, we got to definitely try to figure something out or run an errand for the guest. And it's all subjective still, again, of like, depending how the wine is made and what it's meant to be. Most bigger wines, definitely, when they're young and they're just now being released from the wineries, food definitely helps those. The fats and the cheeses and stuff like that combine with the wines, the tannins. The acids are really high and stuff like that too. It'll soften both of those things and make the wines more approachable. Whereas the wine is young, and then that helps versus I don't have 10 years right now to age this wine, which then you may not need food later on when the wine is softer because of aging. But when it's young, usually it'll kind of pair. And then there's also, of course, like complementing it and kind of contrasting and stuff like that, doing like sweet and salty pairings or different variations. But yeah.
Why don't you share a bit when someone comes to you to book their tour, do they generally have something in mind or are they just saying, what would be the best thing for us to do today?
Yeah, so usually planning decent amount of time out. And then if they don't have anything, we have a concierge service that we offer. We send them a short questionnaire, kind of breaks down everything for their day. Types of wines they're interested in, price points of the wines, what they want to do for lunch. If there's any wineries that have been recommended to them that are on their wish list, we'd like to include based on availability. If there's wineries they've been to before that maybe we don't want to revisit, what time they want to start. And then from that, we'll kind of put together and kind of be the matchmaker for the day of kind of the best 3 wineries that fit their palate and preferences and stuff like that. There's a wide array of different options here, obviously. Napa and Sonoma, I think, has a little bit more just because of the price ranges. That's mainly where it dictates. We kind of have 5 categories for the wineries in Napa and Sonoma. Here we have 3. In Napa, Sonoma, there's kind of some cult categories where the bottles are like $500 to $1,400 a bottle. So that's the upper echelon. There's one that's right below that at like $300 to $500 a bottle. Some of the most expensive wines in Oregon are getting up to about that $250, $300 range. So that kind of, we stop there here. But yeah, we'll kind of put together a custom itinerary. We secure all the needed reservations and appointments on their behalf, and then match them up. And then mainly Pinot Noir country here. Chardonnay, I think, is really storming the castle and coming in really, really hot and strong. I think in the next 5 to 10 years, she's going to steal the crown from Pinot and kind of be the queen. Yeah. Some of the greatest Chardonnays I've ever had have been here and going toe-to-toe with some of the best wines from France, and at a 5 to 10x difference in price here. It's quite amazing. And then there are some other great wineries that either maybe produce some wines up from Walla Walla or out from the Gorge in Oregon, or perhaps have a location in California and they can share those wines here of some bigger reds like Cabernet Sauvignons and stuff like that as well. So we can match up the guests with their palate. If we have some bigger fans of bigger reds, and there's still a handful of wineries that have that versus people mainly coming to this region for a Pinot and Chardonnay, I would say. Again, with the flexibility of the food and stuff like that, and some of the other alcohol laws here, which is nice. Some wineries even have beers and stuff available where that's not, again, that's completely illegal back home in Napa, Sonoma. So same thing if, my wife's really into wines and I'm a beer drinker, then...
It's fun for more people to join the experience.
Yeah.
And is it typical to do, like, how many stops do you do in a day?
So 3 is pretty typical, I would say. Usually do like 1 to 2, stop for lunch, and then 1 or 2 more depending on the order. After 3, I would say most guest palates are kind of shot.
Yeah.
We could definitely continue on, but we'd say, maybe a wine bar or like a cocktail lounge.
Okay.
A little more economical than paying some of the tasting fees if you can't really taste much anymore.
Right.
Avid collectors and stuff like that, and people who are spitting and stuff like that and not consuming all of it, then maybe fit a fourth in for them. But I would say, yeah, 3 is a nice amount. It's a good flow for the day. I think a lot of people are surprised by how fast the day goes. So first they might see 3 and be like, oh, it feels like it's not enough. And then by the second stop, they're like, oh my gosh, it's already almost 2 o'clock and the day's almost done. So
And wineries are open from
10 to 5.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So you've shared about curating that wonderful guest experience. Can you think of a story of a guest that was memorable to you?
Yeah, we have a gal that comes out from the Midwest and brings her girlfriend usually with her. They're old lifelong friends, been, I think, back from like high school friendships and stuff. So every year they do a girls trip together, and then they've come back now a couple seasons in a row. And then it's been fun, kind of same thing. They usually come with a little list of here's some places we really want to go to. On their first season, they had a little bit of a gap, and then so I snuck in kind of one of our favorites and a little hidden gem. And they were like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, we should have done all of these. And then we kind of joke with guests too, especially for their first time, of you kind of have to, not to say fall on your sword, if you will, but you go to some of maybe like the more corporate places or bigger wineries that you've drinking back home that gets distribution around the country, and which is great. And it gets wine drinkers, you know, around the country into wine and drinking wine and finding new regions and areas in our region and area here. But then the best ones are usually the small mom and pops, the ones that are making the smallest production but the highest quality. They don't make enough quantity to distribute their wines around. And then usually they have really good hospitality, beautiful architecture reviews, all that kind of stuff goes hand in hand. So it was nice to kind of sneak them in on that trip and then make them appreciate. And we kind of joke with that when guests are like, we should have done all of these on our first trip. And it's like, well, if we would have done all of these, then you wouldn't have appreciated them and realized these are special. Versus the others.
Right,
so,
absolutely. Are there any common mistakes that a first-time visitor you tend to make?
I would definitely say so. Food is a big thing, and staying hydrated. Skipping breakfast. It's go have a massive breakfast to start the day. Like you want that base. I would definitely say,
too much in.
and then doing too many experiences or having too tight of a schedule. You definitely want to have just like most experiences are about 90 minutes at each spot. I would say keep that as the minimum, even if they advertise a shorter experience. With larger groups, then I would add on a little bit, probably 2 hours at each spot if you're 10 or more people. Just from everyone using restrooms and finalizing purchases and stuff before you're physically driving down the driveway. It takes a little bit more time for everyone to get through the experience. And then I would say for like the first night of vacation, you know, you got that freedom, maybe away from the kids or whatnot. Hone it in a little.
You wait for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Wait at 3, go to dinner.
Yeah. We
Go
get
to
a
bed
lot of
still at
guests
a
that
reasonable
sometimes,
time.
party pretty hard the first night and then the morning with us on their first day. Yeah, it's a little rougher. So.
Are people lodging right here nearby, or are they in Portland and you're picking them up there?
Predominantly, I would say within the valley. We do get a lot of locals here, which is really nice though too, I would say, more so than back home in Napa, Sonoma. I would say count on one hand probably how many guests that physically live in the Bay Area that utilize us. For some reason, a lot of them just drive themselves or kind of take the chances. And so there, it's always kind of Southern California or farther. People had to come on an airplane. And then I would say predominantly we've had a lot of local Portlanders and stuff like that reach out to us, guests from the coast and stuff reach out to us to do tours. So that's been amazing.
So what would be the difference between someone saying, oh, let's pop over to La Angelo today and check it out, versus a curated experience? How does that look different?
Yeah, so it would definitely depend on the time of the year. They're very small here and stuff. Only have a couple of hosts, so if their calendar is already full, for example, in the peak season, they would probably be turned away or maybe given a splash and say, we'd love to see you on another day or time. So reservations are definitely recommended. That's kind of with the concierge service, again, of us building that itinerary, securing all the needed appointments and reservations. And then, bigger places, obviously they'd probably have a better time. And again, depending on season, if it was a holiday weekend in September, October, when we're crazy, then
The advantage of hiring a transportation company would be, well, one, for safety,
Yep.
for drinking and driving, but also we're kind of at your disposal. So we both have backgrounds in hospitality. So speaking of food, we're happy to go pick up lunch for you to eat at a winery. We just had guests in Napa the other day that were on a family trip, and they actually they wanted at one winery to have like photos of their family around. So we're happy to kind of be behind the scenes and do whatever we need to do to make their day or your day seamless.
Yeah, running to get other supplies and stuff. We've had other guests and, can you run and pick up a prescription for me or something? Or for tonight's dinner, can we go get cupcakes or a birthday cake or flowers or kind of just anything? Always kind of keeping our ears open and listening to the guests. We've done that a lot too. Last season, some guest was a big fan of Southern Comfort and wanted a bottle. And while they were at the winery, I ran down to the local store and picked up a bottle and had it in the car when they got there. And so, yeah.
We like to educate along the way and we pride ourselves on being knowledgeable. And so sometimes guests will have additional questions for us after tasting, and we're there to answer it or guide it. Or from the person who's the first time wine tasting, who's like, I have no idea what to do, we can walk them through that, to the connoisseur that has specific wine questions. We're happy to answer those too.
Wonderful, and especially because Oregon has more of the smaller mom and pop, it's more difficult to get that exceptional experience if you're not planned.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of guests, I think, what you would find on like a simple Google search or something like that, of like the top wineries or best and stuff. I think those are just same thing like when you do that in a city for restaurants or things like that. It's usually the tourist kind of traps or destinations that kind of come to the top of those lists. So you're not really getting what we call like the real experience or the real Willamette Valley.
There are some legitimate sites out there that we love, including James Beard and Michelin Guide. And but as far as other rating systems, a lot of times when guests say like, oh, this popped up on the top 10, we're like, well, they wouldn't be our top 10 choices.
Yeah, right. And it's helpful to give that local insight of like, it's good, but I have something even better. Here's this hidden gem of blah, 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 blah. And it's so helpful to give that to people who are especially not local.
You have this successful business in both the Willamette Valley and in Napa and Sonoma. You've had decades in Sonoma and Napa. Where do you see the Willamette Valley industry going in the next 5 to 10 years?
Hospitality, I think, is on the rise, and I think kind of like rising tides raise all ships and stuff. So everyone's striving to kind of provide that great guest experience, make a memorable visit for the guests that are coming here so they can go back home and tell their friends and family, and then kind of keep kind of rejuvenating the area, if you will.
I think also there's going to just be more of a presence internationally as well. If you go to any Michelin rated restaurant anywhere in Europe, there is a small portion of Willamette Valley wines on their wine list. I think that's going to grow. The places that maybe don't know about it, the sommelier will know about it and be excited to add it to their list as well. And I just think that it already is recognized worldwide, but I think there's just going to be more
recognition.
I think Chardonnay is going to come in and steal the crown. Just the quality of them. They originally planted a lot of California clones of Chardonnay here, which wasn't conducive to the weather and some of the terroir, and then they've ripped up and replanted a lot more French clones. And then, some of the...
They're performing better.
And just life-changing Chardonnay of blind tasting them, I would swear it was white Burgundy at $400, $500 a bottle, and then pleasantly surprised that it's local and for a fifth of the price or a tenth of the price. Yeah.
But I still think that the Willamette Valley will also still always hold some charm. When you go to Napa, it is absolutely beautiful, and we love Napa, and we want it to continue to thrive as well. But the reality is that more people visit Napa every year than they do Disneyland, and I don't see the Willamette Valley ever getting to that level of visitors.
When we have, when we work with clients moving here from Northern California, they so often say, oh, this just reminds me of Napa 20 years ago.
Yes.
And so they're excited to be in an area that, that holds similarities, but is lower cost, kind of simpler living, and still has that beauty and holds potential. Yes. So there's so much room for growth here. I think that's a lot of reasons people have confidence in buying real estate here, is because they see the potential of how it can continue to grow.
Yeah, we definitely agree. I think the restaurant scene too and stuff like that, and just the quality of the chefs, with the climate and everything we have here too, of just the great produce and the local farms and kind of farm-to-table cuisine and organic farming and all of that's also just going to continue to rise.
And so with your successful business, what was, when you guys were starting it, what was like, did it come to you overnight, or was it something you guys were thinking about, or like how did you create this idea, this business?
Noble Wine Tours was actually Austin's senior project at Sonoma State.
Oh, okay.
When we started dating, I didn't realize that this is what we were going to be doing.
It's like I already have it planned out.
Yeah. We love to travel, so the first thing we did after we graduated was we spent some time in Panama, and we stayed in hostels or small hotels, and we just met so many people, and along the way they would ask, what do you do at home? And Austin would say, oh, we own a transportation company. And I had to like gently remind him that, you sold your car so we could go on this trip. And he told me, no, this is what we're gonna do when we get back. And so sure enough, we got back, and I got a job at a local hotel right away. He started working at a winery.
It's amazing.
And that winery eventually allowed him to work Monday through Friday, which is unheard of in our industry. Mm-hmm. So he started doing wine tours on the weekends, and then that winery eventually had him go part-time to on-call that was in 2013, and then in 2016 I was able to leave my job and join full-time.
That's amazing. Good for you guys.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a fun journey. Yeah, we came back, had about 600 bottles of wine in our collection, and then sold all those on Craigslist at half off using code words, because at the time you frowned upon selling wine on Craigslist. But that was the down payment for the first tour vehicle. And then, I had a different idea originally, and Katie helped kind of guide that as well, of it's kind of good to do more of just kind of like a person tour, picking up at different hotels and kind of a combined group.
And one of those like white vans.
Yeah, and Katie was like, no, we should just do private and make it more intimate and special. And then we went that route, and that's been it.
Yeah, and it's been really fun growing it too. We have an amazing team in Napa, and we couldn't be doing anything that we're doing without them.
Yeah.
They are all local, they all grew up there, they are all knowledgeable, and Pedro and Meyer and the team have been with us for so long, and also been a huge part of our success.
Yep. We do photography included with all of our tours too. It's always kind of been one of our big niches. We bring a really nice camera with us, and just kind of capture those special memories for our guests, and then send them afterward on the tour, complimentary to them. That was always kind of something we wanted to tie in, of just, this is such a special place. We love to share our passion with the world of it, and we love to see people experiencing it and having a great time, and we want to make sure they treasure those memories as well and have a little memento.
Yeah. Earlier, Austin said that one of his most memorable guests was guests that he was able to kind of grow with them. Mm-hmm. And it's also been really fun when our guests that we've had for so long in Napa get to come here, and we get to share it with them, and we end up going to dinner with them that night, and we're really excited. And same thing, guests we meet here, we're happy to show them Napa as well.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Every time we have conversations like this, we're just reminded of how special the Willamette Valley is. It's about community, relationships, and the place that you choose to put down roots. We're so thankful to have this time with Noble Wine Tours. I hope you will check them out, book a tour with them, share it with a friend. It truly is part of the heart of the Willamette Valley.